Imagine you start a company and on day one, you tell the world, this isn't about money. We're here to build something that changes humanity forever. People believe you so much that over the next 10 years, they hand you $60 billion. And somehow, at the end of all that, you are still completely broke. That's OpenAI right now. The most hyped company in the world, worth 300 billion on paper, Sam Altman on the cover of every magazine, 200 million people using ChatGPT every month, and they're losing $5 billion a year with no end in sight. Not because something went wrong, this is the plan. And once you understand how it happened, you start to wonder whether this is the greatest business strategy in history or the most expensive gamble anyone has ever made. To understand it, you have to go back to 2015 when Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and a handful of others sat down and agreed on something unusual. AI was coming whether anyone liked it or not, and if someone was going to build it, it had better be people who weren't motivated by profit. So they set up a nonprofit, pooled $100 million, and called it OpenAI. No shareholders, no exits, just the mission. Elon Musk eventually left the board in 2018. He later claimed it was because they were drifting from their principles. OpenAI said it was a conflict of interest with Tesla. Either way, that tension never really went away. That lasted about 4 years before the money ran out. By 2019, they realized that competing with the full resources of Google and Microsoft without any profit motive was never going to work. So they created what they called a capped profit structure. Investors could come in, but returns were limited to 100 times their investment. It sounds insane until you remember that 100 times your money is still generational wealth, and everyone involved thought they were taking a serious risk anyway. Then 2022 happened. ChatGPT launched, and the internet stopped working normally for about a week. A million users in 5 days, 100 million in 2 months. Nothing in history had ever spread that fast. Not Facebook, not the iPhone, not anything. Google called a code red internally. Microsoft watched and immediately wrote a $10 billion check, integrating OpenAI into everything from Bing to Word to Excel practically overnight. Here's what nobody tells you though: running ChatGPT costs an extraordinary amount of money. Every message you send lights up thousands of chips in a data center somewhere. In 2023, just keeping ChatGPT alive cost over $700,000 a day, and that was before half the products they run now even existed. GPT 4.0, reasoning models, image generation, video, voice, each one more expensive than the last. In 2024, OpenAI made 3.7 billion in revenue and spent 8.7 billion to make it $5 billion loss in 1 year. And Sam Altman has said publicly that it gets worse before it gets better, with profitability not expected until 2029. So what do you do when you're burning 5 billion a year and the finish line is 5 years away? You raise more money. 6.6 billion in October 2024, then 40 billion more 6 months later at a 300 billion valuation. Investors keep coming because they're not betting on quarterly earnings. They're betting OpenAI becomes the infrastructure that everything runs on, the way electricity became infrastructure. And if that happens, the return is genuinely incomprehensible. Then, January 2025, a Chinese startup called DeepSeek released a model that matched GPT 4 and claimed it cost $6 million to train. OpenAI had spent hundreds of millions on the equivalent. Nvidia lost nearly $600 billion in market cap in a single day. OpenAI employees who had been promised generational wealth started asking questions nobody had a clean answer to. Sam Altman spent weeks on calls reassuring staff, and the original nonprofit board, the one that technically still controls everything, began asking out loud whether this was still about humanity or whether it had just become another tech company with a good story. The restructuring to convert OpenAI into a full for profit is still being negotiated. Whoever controls it controls the most powerful AI system ever built, and nobody is handing that over easily. Sam Altman once said he needs $7 trillion in compute to build AGI. 7 trillion. The entire US federal budget is 6 trillion. He is asking for more than the American government spends in a year, and serious people are seriously considering it. 5 billion a year is an almost unfathomable amount to lose, unless you're building something that makes the concept of money look small. If you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of person this channel is for. Hit subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.